Hey guys, and welcome to the second part of my 360-degree view camera system install, where I showed you the unboxing and installation of the rear and front cameras on the notorious 2020 Toyota Corolla. In this video, you'll see how I coped with the side cameras as well as the final calibration of the entire system. So let's get into it, shall we? So to install the side cameras, I needed to get inside the door casings which the side mirrors are attached to. Again, the following video is how I did it with my 2020 Toyota Corolla, which this setup will differ if your car isn't the same, but hope it gives you a few ideas when it comes to installing on your car. Guys, this entire camera system will possibly take some time to install. In between, you might be forced to disassemble and reassemble when you need to use your car, so be prepared for a weekend or two, as it did in my case. Here you'll see 3 bolts that need to be removed to detach the side mirror. I used a long socket extension on a ratchet to loosen them first. You'll want to be careful not to drop the 10mm nuts inside, as it would be a real pain to retrieve them. To install the side cameras, we have to take off the cover to drill underneath. This involves removing the mirror glass to get inside. So guys, I've literally been at this for hours now, and I've got a problem. Well, it's supposed to pop off with a bit of force, but I'm convinced it's stuck on with some adhesive. Now I've bent the glass mirror every which way to the point I thought I'd crack it. Normally, when you have the cover off, you'd take the included drill bit and drill a hole underneath. Then slide the camera in there with ease. Unfortunately, this wasn't happening, and I did begin to panic. So I knew I had to be creative. So having the original plan fail miserably, I toyed around with another area I was hoping would maybe work, which is this base cover. Now the following is how I installed this camera based on trial and error, and possibly sheer desperation. It must be the most unique one on YouTube. You guys may have higher chances than me of installing this properly inside your mirror. So make sure you guys comment below how your installation went. I found that I can use a trim tool to pry the plastic from underneath. And you'll need to be very careful, as the latches are very brittle and can easily snap. It actually revealed enough space underneath to allow some wires through here, so I knew I could mount a camera outside this area. However, not with the side cameras provided in the kit, as the whole design of them wouldn't physically work. So I went ahead and bought some separate AHD cameras on AliExpress. The lenses were fully adjustable in all directions, which would have been so perfect. But when I connected them all, sadly they weren't compatible, even though it had the same 4-pin connector. So now we know. So I did end up having to buy another kit to get another set of original cameras. The front and rear cameras will both work as replacements for the left and right side. It's an extra cost, but it had to be done in the time that I had. Here I was aligning it so that there would be a 45-degree angle, as well as room for the wire to protrude inside. As you can see, there's a plastic divide which I had to avoid. I used some painter's tape as a reference to where that is. I first drilled a pilot hole, then using a 732 drill bit to fit the camera cable through as minimally as possible. I marked the hole where I wanted the first screw to be. This stage is super important because you want to align the camera parallel to the ground as much as possible, as well as keep your 45-degree angle. I used one of the included screws to mount one side as I figure out the position of the other hole. Afterwards, I did a test fit to see how it looked, which was actually better than I expected. The thing that bothered me though was the space between the camera and the trim. I felt it needed something to fill the gap to prevent anything from getting behind there. Also, the mounting screws were rather short. It didn't give me the confidence that it would stay put. I decided to think about it later as I begin to work on the other side mirror.
Hey guys, so I've been at this for several hours now. The sun's going down and I'm tired. This really takes a lot of patience, a lot of attention to detail, and I need to take a break. I'm making so many mistakes because I'm rushing. I need to slow down. That's the key thing. My mind's been running, trying to solve all these problems. Yeah, definitely slow down.
So after venting out my frustrations, this is basically the next day with a fresher mindset. We needed to replicate the holes we previously made for the other side trim. I decided to use some super glue to fix my blunders, and it actually worked out quite well. So I came up with using closed cell foam to act as a spacer behind the camera. It should create a good base for stability when compressed. Now ideally, I would like to have come up with some sort of rubber or silicone mold, perhaps even a 3D printed piece, but that would be for another time. Now these were the only smallest screws I can find in Home Depot, which were a bit oversized for the camera hole mounts. But I did force them into where I was comfortable enough that they were secure. You'll notice that I added a zip tie there for insurance if the camera somehow detaches itself. Now it was time to put the base covers back on. Now to reattach the mirrors, which is basically the earlier steps in reverse. Just make sure you snake the cables back through the correct side, opposite of the window area. This is the mess you'll be getting yourself into. Now I had another problem on my hands. We needed to get that camera cable from the door into the interior of the car. Normally, you can go through the rubber boot there along with the other wires. But after some investigating on the 2020 Corolla, it seems to be fitted with a large socket from the inside, preventing it to be removed. So my next bet was that plastic cover directly beneath it. So I physically couldn't pop it out from the inside. Now I tried all different tools and methods of prying it off, however, after many attempts, I soon gave up after some collateral damage to it. Guys, if you managed to do it, please share it in the comments below, as I'm far from the expert here. I know you guys will grill me for this, but my only alternative was to snake it directly to the footwell. It's definitely not the most ideal, but it works for now. The cable won't snap off as there is a gap for the weather stripping, and I did test this for weeks, and already it seems fine despite being so exposed. After a while, it actually became quite unnoticeable with the added wire loom. But hopefully this is all temporary until I figure things out. So if any of you were successful or have any suggestions, by all means please share it. So the side cameras, despite all the difficulties, turned out quite nice. Again, if you managed to properly install them inside the mirror, much respect to you. I think this is my only regret, not being able to show you guys. But if you had the same issues like me, this video will definitely help you with alternatives.
Okay guys, let's switch her on and check her out. Whoa, this is so crazy. Check it out, guys. Whoa, this is so crazy. It's like playing Grand Theft Auto, but with real life consequences. Perfect, so it's straight on this left side. And the right. It's a little bit tilted to the right. But software should correct this, hopefully.
Now this is a montage of several weeks worth of test driving. Obviously it needs a lot of calibration, since the camera views don't align up properly yet. The calibration cloth I ordered has yet to be delivered from China, but I'm already mind blown at the capabilities of this system. The cameras themselves has held up really well, in all sorts of different types of roads, highways, and weather conditions, and even extreme winds from the remnants of Hurricane Beryl the other day. At this point, I was extremely confident in finishing up this installation.
Hey guys, so my overpriced calibration cloth has just arrived, so let's check it out.
Now you don't need to necessarily buy a calibration cloth, but it makes it way easier to calibrate your system. I bought this from AliExpress, and it comes in pairs, one to lay down in front of your car and one for behind. The calibration cloth will enable your 360 View app in your Android head unit to properly align your camera views automatically at times. You can also do manual adjustments, which I'll show you guys later. Now these cloths are pretty large, so you'll need a good amount of space to work in.
So fresh out of the bag, this really stinks. Even the flies are attracted to this. I'm glad it's outside. And the material is kind of like those fabric shopping bags you get at Walmart, but I would not pay an arm and a leg for this. Hey guys, so I really do think you can make these calibration cloths yourself. I don't think it's that hard. You can probably go to Home Depot, get those rolls of canvas paper, and just paint some black squares, and that would be that. Now, normally I would love to DIY this, but I will gladly pay the $30 because, quite honestly guys, I am so tired of figuring things out so far in this project. I just want to get it done for you guys.
Now to start the calibration process, we need to enter the AVM app and go to AVM debugging. We'll select our calibration cloth pattern, which has our correct size, in this case, the 4.4 meter lengths. Here we need to take some measurements of our car and throw them into the app. Tap the icon with the arrows to get a visual list of what we need. Now instead of using the traditional measuring tape, I recommend using a laser measure. It's just another useful thing to keep in your toolbox. Now combine this with blocks of wood It makes it super easy to get quick readings. Now, if you guys have the same car that I have, you can use the same readings. Just remember to convert to centimeters when entering the numbers. Here I'll use 10 centimeters when I lay down my cloth. Now, going back to the previous screen, remember to take your car's length, width, and height to finish our list of measurements. For lens type, I left it on default. Here's video of me setting up the calibration cloth. I definitely recommend finding a place large enough to lay them down. The best place would be a nice big parking lot or driveway. The ground also has to be totally level and without many obstructions in view. This is key for getting the auto calibration in the 360 View app to work. The cloth already has a middle marker for you to easily center it with your car. I measured out 10 centimeters from the front and measured the tires to the cloth, making sure that they're equal distance on each side. Now, if I remember, I was rushing to get all this done since the sunlight was going down fast. You'll definitely want as much light as possible when you do your calibration. Later on, you'll see how I made several mistakes you can learn from. Again, I measured 10 centimeters away from the back. The fabric was surprisingly very static clinging to the driveway, so it held down pretty well, but it got really dirty. I should have also mentioned earlier, you don't want to do this outside on windy days. I put down blocks of wood to hold it down, but I didn't really need to. You can see that the reference lines are pretty messed up with the perspectives. That's going to change. Now we're going to press that magic button for one key calibration. You're going to have to wait a good few minutes for it to process the snapshots of all 4 cameras and stitch everything together based on the cloth. So the auto stitching failed on me, and I think I know why. I left my garage door open and forgot my tripod on the side. So make sure you clear everything from view when starting the auto stitching. On the bright side, it did catch most of the squares, so we can do some manual adjustments. There are 8 numbered points, 4 numbers for each corner of the 2 squares. We simply have to make sure those points are positioned exactly on those corners. We can do a lot of micro adjustments using the directional buttons on the top. It was actually quite fun, and having a large screen helps a lot. The 8th point was actually behind one of the camera buttons, so it wasn't possible to touch unless you cycle through the numbers using the big arrow keys on the bottom center. We're going to have to go through each 4 camera views to make sure we align the points correctly to the squares. Here I found out we can actually drag the points to where we want it. As you can see, I left my tripod there, which most likely interfered with the auto stitch function. Again, leaving the garage door open wasn't the brightest idea, as everything got messed up. Not to mention, this is the side where the camera was slightly tilted. Like I mentioned earlier, the bottom arrows allow you to cycle through the numbers in case you're unable to select them by touch. At this time, I was pretty much satisfied with all the points, so I hit the Save Point button. Once saved, it will return you back to the screen. I hit the Preview Fine Tuning button on the top right, which brought me to another adjustment screen. As you can see, there's still a bit more adjustments needed here. I was playing around with the sliders to see what kind of effects each of them make. The goal here was to make everything align together as straight as possible. After hitting the save button and going back to the camera view, you can now see my reference lines match up properly with the perspectives. It's really cool to see everything line up finally. Now, I could have spent a lot more hours making it perfect, but I was pretty much satisfied to what I've been seeing. With everything completed, I decided to activate the 360 View app that night and do a little test drive for the first time. The sensors at night are actually pretty good. It reminds me of those Wise 3 outdoor cameras or those new mid-tier dash cams nowadays. It picks up the natural colors without additional lighting, much like Sony's StarViz sensors with low noise and high ISO. But I gotta say that the cool factor is through the roof. I mean, since this video, everyone who sits in my car just stares at it, trying to make sense of how it works. They had the exact same reaction when I sat in my friend's BMW, gawking at it for the very first time. My parents, well, they were having a hard time understanding it. But all of them had the same wonder and disbelief on their faces, which every time makes my day. And let me tell you, if you've ever had an awkward silence in your car, it's super easy to break the ice with this. Here I wanted to try nighttime reversing. I really love these steering lines as they bend and guide you as you turn. And they can be present on the top-down view as well as the 2D and 3D views. Now when I put it in reverse, as expected, it automatically switched to the reverse view layout with top-down. As you can see, it was really hard for me to adjust which view I wanted to use, as I'm so used to the standard view on the right-hand side, hence the lousy parking job here. The virtual space is pretty accurate though. There is a slight misalignment, but that's my fault, so in the future I'll probably recalibrate when I have time. I do recommend driving around in a large parking lot like this, since the lines are actually a great way to test your adjustments. I also noticed the 3D visual responding to the car's signals, along with details like the spinning wheels, headlights, brake lights, as well as imitating the doors opening, which is pretty nifty. Here's another nighttime attempt at reversing, this time into my garage. I think this is what I'll find most useful every day, especially when you have tight spaces and never-ending clutter all around. Again, I love the BMW style steering lines. It looks and functions exactly like it. And you know, I really can't believe how primitive the stock reverse camera was on the Toyota. It's just absolutely abysmal as to what they give you compared to this. They should really be ashamed of themselves. And this car is from 2020, guys, so it's not that far off. Everyone had high-res tablets and 4K dash cams at that time. But anyway, this 360 view camera system is just beautiful. I thought I'd spend this day going through some of the settings, features, and customizations for you guys. But first I gotta apologize for the shaky cam, as recording while driving with my crazy gimbal was quite precarious to say the least. Now in practicality, you wouldn't have the 360 app open all the time like this while driving, but it's pretty neat to see. In the daylight, the camera quality is very pristine at 1080p. I believe this also auto-adjusts for exposure in different lighting conditions. Again, here's another practical use of reversing into a spot. The top-down view is extremely useful in terms of spatial awareness, especially in public spaces where kids and pets are running around, shopping malls, and of course downtown parking. I think it's so much reassuring to visually confirm to yourself that you're positioned well and clear of any hazards that you might not see with traditional cameras. So if you're not that great at parking, or even scared of reversing, this is pretty much for you. There are several different layouts you can choose from in the 360 app. Each have different styles and shortcuts to different camera views. I like how each interface is quite intuitive for quick access, especially on a large screen where you're always bouncing around trying to hit a small button. Now, out of all of these, I like Style 2 the best. We can also change the style of the track, or steering lines, on the screen. Now they have a huge list. Many of them are replicates of styles found in luxury cars. BMW, Benz, Audi, Lexus, Porsche even. My favorite is still the BMW. Another cool feature is the automatic left and right turn signal view. So whenever you hit your turning signal, the 360 app will automatically turn on to show you the relative side you're turning into. This really helps reveal anything in your blind spot. I'd say it's super useful in the city where there's a lot of pedestrians and bikers. Best of all, it will automatically return you back to the app, such as Android Auto, when you complete your turn. And since it's Android, your music will still be playing as the app runs in the background. This also goes for putting your car in reverse. You can even change it to only activate below a certain speed, so it's really cool. You also have the ability to make adjustments to most of the preset camera views. This is great if you wanted to correct some positioning or some sort of distortion which may bother you. You can also record your camera footage like a dash cam or like a basic Tesla Sentry feature. I have yet to play around with this, but it's great that you can record directly to your USB. Changing the brightness, contrast, and balance is all possible for each camera. And yes, you can also change your 3D car model, which several are included in the app. But not surprisingly, the Corolla. How notorious is that? Now you're able to buy and download other 3D models through their online catalog, but I'm not the one to try. If you guys wanted a stability update, as of this video, I've been driving a lot in 30 degrees Celsius heat with no AC. And my AINAVI Android head unit and camera system has yet to hang or crash. I've actually driven with the 360 app open for trips over an hour with no issues yet. So in hindsight, as cool as it all looks, I really do feel it's a practical tool to assist and supplement my driving. My mantra for the road is to always have the advantage over other drivers that'll keep you safe, and this is one of them. Now I'll try not to rant again, but having this 360-degree view camera system solidifies a lot about how car manufacturers deprive us of a lot of things here in North America. This technology has actually been around for about a decade, and super popular in Asia along with the Android head units. I thought at least with my Corolla LE trim, I would get an upgrade to some sort of cool features. But all I got was a low-res 480p screen with shoddy Bluetooth, a pixelated camera, no Android Auto at all, none of the little things like side mirror signals, no fog lights, not even a soft open glove compartment. Really a no-frills experience, which doesn't take much on their part to improve customer satisfaction. Only by doing my own research and taking matters into my own hands, adding the Android head unit, and now the 360-degree view camera system. It feels like my Corolla LE is truly a luxury upgrade, worth calling a modern car. So guys, again this is one of my longer videos as I've fought to keep most of the details in. Hope you're able to absorb the experience and attempt your installation. I do admit that it's a rather difficult one as the cameras do require some vehicle modding and ripping apart your car. So I gotta reiterate, please attempt at your own risk as I'm no expert at all. You may want to leave it up to a professional. The video also shows my installation specifically on the Corolla and with my AINAVI Android head unit. So the steps you see here may totally be different from your setup. Hope you're able to take some ideas from here that will help you on your journey. Comment below if you liked what you've seen in this video. Remember to hit that like button. And if you enjoyed my content, please consider subscribing to this humble YouTube channel. Alright, cheers guys.